Film with family. Film with family. Film with family. They love their family. They love the movies.
Hello and welcome to a special, exclusive Patreon episode of Film with Family. I'm Austin.
And I'm Zach.
And we are two cousins who like to talk about movies. Good to see you, Zach.
Yes,
back
we're
in the
back.
saddle here. Yeah. Getting back at it after a nice little break. And here's our first Patreon episode. Wonder if anybody's listening.
Yeah, if you are listening, thank you for putting your money where your mouth is, and
Or where our mouth is.
yeah, putting money in our mouths. It feels great. I'm grateful for it.
Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about Hayao Miyazaki's new film, The Boy and the Heron.
Woo!
Highly anticipated among this family and the world, we might say.
Oh yeah, this is a big one for
Mhm.
sure. And we already talked about this on an earlier episode, the Chicago International Film Festival episode. But this is more content. This is more
In depth. We're spoiling it.
getting into some spoiler territory. So if you
Yeah.
haven't seen the film, I would recommend you watch it. Hit up your local theater. And because this is a movie that's great to not know much going in, I would say.
Yes.
So I would say watch the movie and then listen to this episode.
Exactly. So, as you said, Zach, we already played about 20 minutes of a conversation between my brother Drew and I about our initial screening of The Boy and the Heron, which was an advanced screening. So you were like 2 months away from seeing this movie at the time when Drew and I recorded it. So I finally edited it so that there were no spoilers in there. But what we're giving you today is the whole shebang. It's everything. Everything Drew and I talked about. And you're not going to believe the conversation we had.
Yeah, what is it, like about 40 minutes or so?
Yeah, we got about 45 minutes of conversation here. But Zach, I would say out of the three of us, you, ironically, were probably the one that wanted to see it the most. I mean, I don't know. Drew also really wanted to see it, but
Yeah, Drew's a big Miyazaki fan as well. But yeah, I was very excited.
mhm.
I love this guy. I believe it's been mentioned before, I have a Totoro onesie, and I have a Princess Mononoke Christmas sweater.
Nice. Which you're
Uh,
wearing right now. It looks great.
yes, I've been wearing it every day since I've seen The Boy and the Heron.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's just what you do on Christmas now.
yeah, so I'm a big fan, and yeah, it's been like 10 years since his last movie, The Wind Rises.
Hmm.
And so this has been highly anticipated. I'm glad it's finally here.
Yeah,
And I got to see it 3 days ago.
beautiful. So yeah, Zach, tell us about your experience seeing this movie. I think it was the movie you were looking forward to seeing the most all year.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, I mean that and the new Wes Anderson movie, like those are my two favorite guys. So
Hmm.
very very lucky boy that I got to get new films from both of those people this year.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, this is very exciting. I went in completely sober. I didn't smoke weed. I didn't drink a beer. I was completely clear-headed going into this screening, and it was a dub. Oh no, it was a subbed screening.
Hmm.
I want to go back for the dubbed soon,
Yeah. So do I.
so yeah, it was in the Japanese language and with the subtitles, and I saw it with my housemate Kenny and his girlfriend, and we went to the Royal Oak Imagine Theater.
Opening day.
Yeah, it was opening day. I mean, there were like some preview screenings I could have seen it a couple days earlier, but I saw it on December 8th, which was the official wide release day,
Yep.
and I loved it. It's my
Yeah.
favorite movie of the year.
Wow.
Went right up to the top of my rankings, easy.
Easy. Were you expect? I think you were expecting that, right?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean,
I was like, that should be no surprise.
yeah, I mean, there are some Miyazaki movies that like I just like I'm feel more mid on. It's not like
Hmm.
I think every movie he makes is a five-star masterpiece.
Right.
Um, so like there's potential for it for me to not be that into it,
Hmm.
but I do think it's a five-star masterpiece.
That's awesome. So, yeah, tell me about your feelings about it. Obviously, we're about to play an extensive interview where I kind of go into the details of the background of the movie and what it's about and everything. So, I don't think we need to go into that, but I think generally, just tell me how you feel, some scenes you loved. I'm excited to hear your perspective on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like pretty much as soon as like the first scene, I was like just like kind of had this like feeling like, oh, this is a masterpiece just like already. Like I just
Yeah.
had that feeling and just
Hmm.
like I don't know, I was really moved by the score of this film, which I don't think you and Drew talked about at all, but
No, we don't. Yeah.
Joe Hisashi, who's been Miyazaki's composer, I think like since the beginning, since Nausicaa, like one of his first films. And yeah, he just knocked it out of the park. It's very beautiful, like very piano forward score and a lot of strings. And it's very emotional. And like I think the movie starts off with like this really powerful piano theme that like kind of comes up a few times throughout the movie. And it just kind of gave me chills right away.
Mm.
And just and yeah, the fact that this is more of a more mature kind of story,
Hmm.
like there's some graphic blood and it's dealing with death and grief and
Hmm.
a lot more complicated themes than I feel like a lot of his movies do. I mean, he does have complicated themes in all of his movies, I would say, but this one is there's a lot to untangle with this.
Yeah.
Um, and I didn't feel overwhelmed by it at all. I just was so happy to bear witness to it and felt so grateful that I get to see another Miyazaki movie. Like I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe this is a new Miyazaki movie. I've been seeing it in the theaters and it
Hmm.
looks incredible and it sounds incredible. I was just
Yeah.
like I was just smiling the whole time. Sometimes I would just get teary-eyed just witnessing it. I didn't like full on cry, but like I was just like
Yeah.
just being so happy that I was like
Getting that
vibing.
experience.
Yeah, that the movie was working for me and I was excited with every new turn and it just like keeps getting bigger and more
Hmm.
fantastical as it continues on. And it's just what I hope from Miyazaki because his last movie, The Wind Rises, it's a very restrained film.
Mm.
There's like very few like dream sequences in it, but
Hmm.
it's very grounded in reality.
Hmm.
And I like that this movie, it does have a good like the first chunk of the movie is fairly grounded,
Yeah.
but it really goes in deep into the fantasy world stuff that he's so
Hmm.
good at later in the
Yeah.
movie. So I really loved getting both flavors of that, and I feel like he did a really great job in both sides.
Yeah. Yeah. Drew and I talk about that pretty extensively about the feeling of not knowing what's real and what isn't. And I kind of mentioned it's like Bo is afraid. I think it's better if you just kind of go, it's just a movie. And like, let's just go with it. Like whatever's happening is happening. I don't know if it's an analogy or a metaphor or I'm just here for the ride.
Yeah, yeah, definitely does seem like there are some symbols or it does feel allegorical in a way.
Hmm.
And yeah, it definitely is somewhat autobiographical, as you and Drew talk about.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it is interesting to think about that stuff. But yeah, I just had the feeling watching it is like this movie just feels so much smarter than me, or like this just has so much to tell that
Yeah.
like this is a movie I could return to for the rest of my life and just keep finding new
Hmm.
things. And I love a movie like that, a movie that it just has great vibes and storytelling, but also there's like so much uh metaphorical and stuff like that to dig into for further viewings to like you can just keep getting more and more out of the movie.
Yeah, it's a very rich film, and uh, it's a twicer for sure. Got to see it
Yeah,
twice at least. Um,
maybe a tensor. See it 10 times.
yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it since we saw it back in October, so it's not very fresh in my head, but I gotta believe that it's gonna be nominated for an Oscar. And so next
Yeah.
year when we
Hopefully
go,
best animated feature should be best picture as well, but
I mean, people have been murmuring about that. I mean, it could best international film, best score. There's definitely. I don't think this is going to be the last time we're talking about this movie. Is all I'm saying.
yeah, hopefully not.
Yeah. So in the new year, we'll be having a conversation about the nominees and talking about our favorite movies. And so I think after you and I both get a chance to watch it again, we'll have more to say for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely want to see the dub and talk about Robert Pattinson as the Heron and Willem Dafoe does a voice and Florence
Hmm.
Pugh. So like there's a lot of interesting casting choices
Yeah.
and yeah, I usually enjoy Miyazaki's dubs or like they treat them with respect and they'd make sure they're done well.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I'll enjoy it just as much. But yeah, seeing it subbed was great. The voices were perfect for all the
Hmm.
characters, and yeah, because this is a film set in Japan in World War II, like it just makes more sense to kind of see it with the actual Japanese voice talent.
Yeah.
So I think I would recommend that for a first viewing.
Yeah. And maybe a double feature with Godzilla minus one.
Ooh, another great movie. I loved it. Also set in World War II, Japan, like kind of post
Exactly.
World War II. So
Yeah. Also with crazy animals.
yeah,
some 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 anthropomorphized reptiles.
yeah. The Boy and the Heron. You're mostly gonna get birds, different types of birds.
But there are some reptiles. There are some well, I guess amphibians.
Yeah, amphibians with the frogs.
Yeah.
Um, and you do get a pretty gnarly, mythological looking fish.
Yes.
Yeah, that scene where he guts that fish and all the guts spill out. Oh my God, it's incredible.
I don't know if you're talking about Godzilla or
Boy and the Heron.
yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we cut to this extended version of Drew and I's talk?
I did hear that that this movie is the most expensive film Japan has ever produced.
Really?
Yeah, which I think thought that was an interesting tidbit.
Anything, not just animation, any film.
No, just any film. Because it's like it was in production for 7 years, and
Wow.
like Miyazaki was kind of like working at a slower pace than usual because he's in his 80s.
Right. And probably COVID slowed things down a bit too.
Yeah. And I heard the reason why all of the Studio Ghibli movies went up on Max or HBO was to fund this film because like
Oh,
Miyazaki was like very like before that he was like I'll never put those movies on streaming like that's like not our vibe at all, but just
right.
because they needed the money to make this film, that's why you can watch all these movies on Max now. So
That
I thought
makes
that
sense.
So I thought that was interesting. Like, and yeah, they say that this is going to be his last movie, but I also heard that he wants to make another movie.
Yeah.
He just seems like one of those guys that just can't retire.
Yeah. Well, I feel like as you get older, you just kind of assume that you'll die any day. So it's like this could be my last one, So just like putting all your effort in. I mean, we've had Scorsese's film is Killers of the Flower Moon is very similar, where I think that, as he was making it, he was really kind of thinking like, maybe this is it.
Yeah.
Another master, making their, a 5-star masterpiece.
Yeah.
We've had an incredible year at the movies. I feel like this has been an exceptional year. It was a good year to start this podcast, I think.
Yeah. It definitely feels like the movies are back. And yeah, this is a perfect movie to end of the year, even though there's still some great movies I'm excited to see this year. But
Yep.
yeah, this was the big one for me personally. And yeah, I was just so happy that it delivered. And yeah, it's a beautiful film, I would
Mm-hmm.
say.
I also think that your brother Caleb is really going to love it. I'm excited to hear what he thinks about it.
He might have seen it this weekend. I gotta text him about it, see what he thought.
Let's look up how it's doing right now in the box office. Okay, so far it's made $84 million.
Yeah, I don't think they've released the budget of the movie. It's that they just said that like it's the
Mhm.
most expensive movie Japan's ever produced.
Yeah, Hayao Miyazaki's Boy and the Heron opens to record-breaking 12.8 million, becoming the first original anime production to top the domestic box office. So it won the weekend over
Nice.
Beyonce.
Yeah, yeah, Beyonce's been out for a while, probably, right?
Just 1 week. I mean, this is her
Okay.
second weekend. So, I mean, considering that Era's dominated the box office like for a month,
Hmm.
um, and that like a semi obscure Japanese anime can beat out, the most famous person on earth is notable.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, with that, let's go to our conversation, me and Drew's conversation about The Boy and the Heron. So, Drew, thanks for joining me on a Saturday night after work to talk about this movie we just saw yesterday.
Yeah, is this going to be for film with family?
Yes.
You're not just
Yeah, this is
branching
going to
off,
be,
doing your own thing?
I mean, this is just going to be a little piece of the whole report on the 59th annual Chicago International Film Festival.
Cool. I just didn't want to be part of the first act of your solo project. You leave Zach hanging out to dry. And
This is my wings.
yeah, I'm like, we've seen what happens with that.
I made a great album. So one of the films that I was most excited for that was playing at the 59th annual Chicago International Film Festival was Hayao Miyazaki's 10th Studio Ghibli film, I believe, that he wrote and directed. This is Miyazaki's first film in about 9 years.
Wow. Since The Wind Rises.
Yep. Wind Rises in 2013. And very exciting. Hayao Miyazaki is, of course, a Japanese animator, filmmaker, founder of Studio Ghibli, and regarded as one of the most accomplished filmmakers in the history of animation. Been doing Studio Ghibli since the 80s and has done such classic films as Princess Mononoke and Spirited Away. And so this is his newest film. It's got a lot of hype around it. People are really excited to see it. And we were so lucky as to get a advanced screening on Friday the 13th in the spookiest month, October. Should be bad luck. It was good luck for us.
Good luck for you and me. Even better luck for me.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out specifically to Tom Elliott, who made an exception for Drew to come to go see this movie because how special it is to you. And the premise of the podcast being that we watch films with family. It wouldn't really make sense if I didn't see one of these films in a theater with a family member. So this seemed like a perfect opportunity. And so Drew and I saw The Boy and the Heron about maybe almost 2 months before it's going to be widely released in the US. So pretty exciting. I've got the synopsis here that I pulled offline, which I think summarizes it well. Mahito is a young 12-year-old boy, struggles to settle into a new town after his mother's death. However, when a talking heron informs Mahito that his mother is still alive, he enters an abandoned tower in search of her, which takes him to another world. That's the description on the YouTube page for their trailer. So it's got to be, that's it. Mm-hmm. So first, Drew, I just wanted you to tell us your history or your relationship with Miyazaki.
Yeah, so Miyazaki to me just was a way to see cartoons as more than just like dumb little Saturday morning things, Ren and Stimpy. He tells such great stories with with what he wants to say, and just like being able to see a whole movie with so many moving parts, like from almost one person's singular vision, is just like mind blowing, and like with so much detail.
Because he writes and directs and animates all of his films.
Yeah, Miyazaki is truly incredible, and a lot of his work has always really spoke to me. Princess Mononoke, especially, which I probably tried to get you to watch maybe like 400 times in my life. Reluctantly, but I think we finally did it. At the Music Box, of course, which was great, and yet seeing that in theaters was like the first time I've actually got to see Miyazaki in the theater up until just now, seeing his latest work, The Boy and the Heron, which was absolutely amazing. But yeah, as far as between Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, these are some of my favorite movies of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Ponyo, especially. Geez, Ponyo. Like, you guys are all talking about Little Mermaid the other day. I'm like, whatever, man. Get to Ponyo. We want to talk about
that was Zach's final thought was, yeah, Little Mermaid's good, but if you want a Little Mermaid story, Ponyo's the one.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah. So, yeah, to me, Miyazaki is just a powerful force of nature that needs to be recognized in, not just the anime world, but just cinema as a whole. And like, I was always proud to carry that torch to be like, have you ever seen this movie? Like, dumb cartoon. I'm like, dash your opinions and standards of what things are. Anyways, love them.
I will admit I've given you a lot of grief because you've always been trying to get me to watch these movies. And pretty much since I've been, 17 or 18, the only cartoon that I could deal with is The Simpsons from the 90s.
Yeah.
Everything else, maybe a South Park episode here or there. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't watch Family Guy anymore. I can't watch Adventure Time, Rick and Morty. I don't watch any of it. But you've always also had a deep love and appreciation for all kinds of anime films. And multiple times you try to show me stuff that I have varying opinions about. But Miyazaki, and especially Princess Mononoke, is like one of those films that has permeated my life from like all of my friends. Like everybody regards it as like a classic and something that you like have to marvel at. And Spirited Away, just like incredible pieces of work. And I agree. And I've obviously like softened and become a little bit more, just like in general, just more accepting of all forms of art.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I finally felt like I saw Princess Mononoke last year when we went to the Music Box to see it. And it was incredible. We went to like a midnight showing of it.
Yeah. It was incredible.
And I've seen Spirited Away. I think we watched Spirited Away during the pandemic.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much as far as my Miyazaki education gets. So that's why I was like, I can't see The Boy and the Heron before Drew does.
Yeah. I wouldn't be cool with that at all.
Yeah.
I would have made you see it again, at least, but we may end up seeing it again. Who knows?
Yeah. Drew, first tell me what this theater going experience was like for you.
Oh, well, I mean, I knew this was going to be like a very empty theater with just like 10 or 20 people there that were all like writers that have been forced to watch movies for the past 2 weeks. So I chose to wear a full suit and really give the respect the man deserves. Got to walk the red carpet. No one was there.
You looked great.
But yeah, we went to the theater, saw that dude from the Sun Times. We're all just like trying to get into the theater as it was like completely locked. And they're like, you have to ring the doorbell to the theater. So like,
yeah, it's an AMC.
Silly us not knowing how to ring the doorbell to the theater.
To the AMC. That was like so wild.
Theater. Yeah, there wasn't. It's like, ring the doorbell, sirs. I'm like, sorry.
Yeah.
So we walk in there and it's like super, dark. Nobody's selling concessions, and it's just kind of like.
Well, it was also 9:30 in the morning.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
We saw a 10 a.m. showing, so we got there by like 9:15, 9:30.
Mm-hmm. We get in there, find our seats. There's guys talking about, all the movies that are out, all the movies they're going to see. And then, curtain drops and we're in.
There's no curtain. And if it was a curtain, it would have rose.
Curtain drops and we're in. As they say.
We sat down, it was a very empty theater with only, a few people from the press there. And movie started and
curtain drops and we're in. Yeah.
So what were your expectations?
My expectations were really high because, like, I feel like a lot of Miyazaki's movies, like, some of them take place in the real world initially, like Spirited Away or Ponyo feels like, just like the real world. You're not sure where it is specifically, but it's somewhere like you could believe the modern time. But it's never era specific. So it's like this movie, I feel like is the first one that's like World War II is like mentioned, it's like you're on, some version of Earth, some like, which is like kind of was like, oh man, this like makes it feel more grounded, and the beginning was especially like that because, again, I'm a little concerned. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess like high level, were those expectations met? Like what did this movie make you feel as you were watching it and like, how'd you walk away from it?
Well, I felt kind of like not sure where the moral was or where, like, it just felt like there was a lot of like pulling you apart and like not like getting a clear foot. Because usually his movies are kind of like, kid stories that's like clear moral, like, this guy, like you feel people's motivations. And this one was kind of just like really spacey and out there. And it was like a lot of homages to things too, like Alice in Wonderland, and I got a lot of like Seven. So I was just getting a lot of like, it's telling you his own mythos. And I know he's given a lot of like nods to things, but it's totally his own story. It was very like, okay, cool. This is like, I felt like I was like seeing a mythology told for the first time. Like, which was really like, whoa, this is, I'm definitely getting something here. I'm not sure what it is but it definitely felt almost like, because there were stages in the way the movie is presented where it's like and it's a lot of, that's the Alice in Wonderland. He's kind of tumbling down the rabbit hole and going through like one stage of like when it starts to get a little more supernatural to the next, and kind of forced into a world which kind of feels like encapsulated like weird environments that have like a specific thing that's going on, a strife that's being happened, somebody who needs to fish, and pelicans who need to eat. There's like a weird conflict that's happening. It's not necessarily getting resolved, but you kind of understand what's happening in that, but you don't understand how it relates to the character, or it's just kind of all over.
Right. How do you feel about this movie in comparison to his other movies? Like, are you feeling like you were disappointed? Do you feel like you're still processing?
I feel like I'm still processing, in that his movies like Princess Mononoke have like a clear like message, which is like, respect nature, or versus this one, which is a lot about like inheritance and loss and revenge, and I don't know, there's just a lot of different things that are going on. It's kind of just like, what did I just see? Like, what? Yeah, because it's a lot of like dreamscapes and stuff. And I know you were saying that it, like when we came out of it, you were like, no, that I was arguing that the mythology, like it could have all been in his head, and then you were saying, so I kind of felt like there was something about mental illness there, because like it alluded to his mom seeing stuff, but then you were talking about like, oh no, there's the other characters in it definitely said there was weird things that happened around this specific tower.
Yeah, it's hard to like, it's hard to discern. It feels supernatural because the movie is so grounded. And I think, Miyazaki is 82. And I think this is somewhat autobiographical.
Yeah, because he definitely did, like there was that thing where he doesn't feel like he has anybody that's taking on his inheritance. Like he doesn't know. It's a lot about legacy.
Yeah.
Which kind of references him, but also like he just references so many different things, and it kind of leaves you wondering what the whole movie was about, because it's about so many different, it's about loss or accepting loss. Is it about inheritance? Is it about legacy? Is it about...
Definitely seems like he's trying to figure out what he's leaving behind as an artist and as a person. And, in a way, maybe this is his like Fabelmans, like where he's like, I mean, I don't know anything about his life, but I don't know if any of these things specifically happened to him, if he had like any loss in his family or
well, I know that his son made a film and he criticized it pretty harshly. And like
Film with family.
I mean, yeah, that like his son made a film, and his dad said something along the lines of like, my son isn't ready for this industry, or like something pretty harsh. And like me and Zach talk about it a lot, because it's like, God, this guy's so nice, and like all his movies seem like so like happy, and it's just like, it sucks that he's got weird stuff with his son or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does. It does kind of feel like that in the movie, that he's just like worried about inheritance, what we're leaving our kids. And it's like, yeah, it's weird, because it's like movie in World War II, his dad's making like planes and stuff, or like, to fight in World War II. Like there's clearly a war going on that they're kind of pulled away from. He lost his mom. His dad remarried his aunt. He's like wrestling with that in his own way. Like he has to call his aunt his mother now. And you can just see that he's like filled with like anger and discontentment and just like confused. He's just all like, for him to be like the main character, and like why the heron is like targeting him, and like why he needs to inherit this dream world is like so confusing to me.
I mean, I'm just looking right now, the hospital fire that starts the movie, and that's not a spoiler because it's in the synopsis. It's one of the first things that happens basically is he loses his mother in a fire, and then they have to move. And so the movie kind of begins with him going to this like new village, kind of settling in. And I guess that is true to Miyazaki's life, because his Miyazaki's family had to evacuate from, I think, Tokyo, to the countryside during the war.
Whoa. So this is like a real regression film for him, and like really going back. That's wild.
And he did lose his mother when he was young too. So
oh wow, this is super autobiographical. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's it's a coming of age tale, and it's his way of kind of telling his his story, you know, at the end of his life, which is very significant.
If I could try to like psychoanalyze the ending, is that he is worried about what we're leaving behind for people, what we're leaving behind for kids, because all his movies are mostly about how like kids are the answer and like they are the heart, they like are the future, and like this is where, you know, the key to evolving our our lives and is just always in the good spirit and nature of kids and following your heart and love and all that good shit.
Yeah. You know, just thinking about it now, maybe like the tower is that thing that like you need to crawl into and go deep into. Like if you suffer such a deep, horrible loss like that as a child, like losing your mother, like the tower could be like his, like what he does to try to find his mother, to like try to like reconnect with his mom, you know, like is like his art, you know, like what he does like as a filmmaker is like to go into those like depths of fantasy and like maybe that's the representation of it. But I mean, I think it does have its own kind of mythology built into it. I mean, like it's not, obviously it has autobiographical features, but it, you know, it's not actually, you know, it's like an interpretation of his life maybe, or I don't know.
Yeah. It's not one for one, but yeah, it definitely just feels like
he didn't meet a talking bird at any point.
I don't
in his
think
life.
he met a
that
talking
was actually a little
bird.
man inside of a bird. So I guess, I don't know, is there anything just kind of post movie that you're thinking about, like, and feel free to do spoilers if you want to like say like you liked this particular part or this particular character or whatever.
Well, yeah, I liked Mojito a lot because I related to him like being an angry kid and just kind of like little like resentful and still go through the you know, just like where you are. And I don't know. I think that when he was immediately bullied and like the first day of school, he like realized what this shit was. He was like, fuck that. I'm going to take this rock and just bash my head in and just like soldier home and be like, I'm not doing that anymore. Like they attacked me, and just being like, just like kind of rolling with it. And
I was wondering about that. So yeah, there's a scene where he gets attacked by bullies and then he like self-inflicts a wound by like smashing a rock on the side of his head. Pretty
damn hard and bleeding a lot.
Yeah. He bleeds a lot and it's a scar on his head like the entire movie. It's like it, you know, the scar is very significant symbol throughout the movie. I mean, like his head is shaved in that spot. Like he immediately says like, I'm gonna have a bald spot. And so it gives him this kind of like look, like a half shaved kind of cool haircut look throughout the movie.
Well, that was more medical than cool, but yeah.
But I mean, I know, I just thought it was a cool feature because he's just like kind of going about this film with this like scar on his head. I thought when it first happened that it, you know, it would heal and like, you know, the hair would grow back and he would just look normal, but the scar is like visible the entire movie. So
and they referenced it a lot.
Yeah. They're trying to like use that as a device to maybe like remind you of like the hurt that he carries with him or something like that. But it felt weird. Why did he do it there? And why did he do it after he got bullied?
Well, I think he just he didn't want to go back. So he was like, if I put an injury hard enough on myself, I don't have to go back to school with these people who are bullying me.
Right. Because after that, the dad's like,
I'll find out who did this. He's like, don't worry about it. Nothing ever happened. And he's just like, he knows what his dad's going to do. And he's just like, I'm rolling with this. I just thought that was like a kind of cool play for somebody who's like suffering through whatever class warfare is going on in World War II, Japan, like countryside. And they see this like city kid coming in. Yeah. Because then I think like what happened was he was trying to get a job with those guys, like working paddy fields and then that's when he got into the fight. And we don't know what happened, but he's an outsider and not respected. So he's like, you know what? I put my best foot forward. I came well dressed in this suit and this dope hat. You know, and then he just goes, whatever, I'm going to smash my head in rock. And I was like, whoa, that's hardcore. And then he just goes in and he just lies to his dad. He's like, look, I know you're looking out for me. I'm not going back. And, then he like deals with it.
He seems like a good boy though. Like he's like in the beginning, he's like very obedient and like
Yeah, but he's always kind of he doesn't really respect. He just like he knows that he has to because that's the way, but he's always resentful and pissed off. Like he's a good kid and that he does what he's told, but he's not happy at all.
Yeah. Like when he first gets there and he like says hello to everybody, he's like respectfully bows to everybody. And then like he goes in his room and just like collapses on the bed.
Yeah. Just like, fuck this.
Yeah. But then that's when the heron starts like annoying him.
That's another thing that's like very Alice in Wonderland about this whole thing is one, you get like he gets hit in the head and then starts having all these like delusions. So like he really starts seeing like the heron greets him. He kind of like sees him like staring and stuff, but you don't get the teeth or any of the weird stuff until after he hits his head. So
the heron like has such a creepy voice. It's so awesome. Yeah. And he's like, your mother isn't dead.
And he was never like, oh gosh, a talking bird. He was like, get out of here, talking bird. Like, like, that's where it was like, always like, oh, is this about mental illness? Is this about kind of, because like it, Lewis Carroll.
Yeah, he's not like, holy shit, a talking bird.
The talking bird that's saying like, hey, my, and he's like, it's like mocking him saying what he said about his mom. He's like, hey man, get out of my room. And then there's like shit everywhere. The bird shit everywhere when he leaves, which also bird crap is really prominent in this movie. In a lot of ways. And
a lot of birds, pelicans, parakeets,
herons. He's got birds on the brain.
He's a real bird brain. That
my dog.
Yeah, like when all of the fish and the frogs gather and like start like
around him. Yeah,
that was awesome.
That was such a dope scene. But but like the frogs all over him and then him not flinching, that definitely felt like some kind of like schizophrenic like fever dream, like not like. It felt like it was all coming from Mahato in a way. Like he got concussed and then like this is his delusion.
I guess if you would ask him like, is this an analogy or is this is this actually happening to him? Is he imagining this? It's like, it's a movie. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, of course it's an analogy. It's a movie. Like this is how it feels, or this, whatever it represents is what it represents. So it's like, I think it maybe is sort of like Beau is Afraid. I don't know if you saw Beau is Afraid, but it's like the same kind of thing where it's like, is this really happening to him? Or is it like is
that
it
doesn't matter. Just accept it at face value and just kind of like try to, dig in what it actually means. Yeah. I mean, I guess that is less important. I just thought that was a nice detail because that just made it feel,
absolutely. But I mean that I feel like movies like that, it's almost like the central thing that you're doing through the whole movie is like what's real, what's fake, like, and so that's just what I love that kind of stuff,
Yeah, I don't know. I like the movie a lot.
Yeah. There's a lot of really cute characters. One thing I'll say, going to a few of these screenings now, the press screenings can vary with reaction, but this movie was like the most people like laughing out loud and like being like really excited and just like having like big verbal reactions to the things that were going on screen. I don't know if that's because people were just really excited to see it, or if they're just more moved.
I think they were just more moved. I mean, who needs 7 dwarfs when you got 7 little old ladies? I mean, all those ladies kick ass. All those ladies rock. What are they doing there? I don't know. They all just got brooms and are ready to rock at any given point. Like if something's going down, they're ready to hold together. But I don't know. That just felt so just like for Mahito to just be like, hi, okay, 7 old, I have 7 grandmas now that will take care of me. And they're all like, oh man, it's just like that. I don't know. That was just such a blast. Those are such great characters to have. And I don't know, like he likes to have fun with it. And they're also that reference. I don't know if you caught that, the one where they're looking for tobacco to smoke because it's like, resources are much more scarce, which they also kind of touch on a lot. Like when they find a bag of sugar, they're all freaking out because they can finally make like sweets and stuff. That when the one old man is smoking in the background, she's like, "Where'd you get tobacco?" And he's like, "It's lily leaf. You want a hit?" And she's like, "What do I look like, a caterpillar?"
Yeah.
So you know
Yes.
that's definitely an Alice in Wonderland like reference right there. I think
Oh,
there's just
of course. Yeah.
smoking caterpillar. So
Yeah, I
there's
think
that.
you're dead on. Like the Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, when the Parakeet King is carrying her around, like that was totally a Sleeping Beauty reference for sure. And
Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, Alice in Wonderland. And I mean, he is kind of like the new Disney. So this is like definitely an homage to like those animations too, you know, that
yeah, I mean, as far as like truly wholesome, like good movies that have like, you know, really like, I mean, Up and then like every Miyazaki movie that he's ever made
Mhm.
up until this one, because this one is not that hard. I mean, there are heartwarming parts and there's funny, but I feel like this is more for a more adult audience. You know, I feel like this is
Yeah.
like, I think kids should see it, but I'm sure this one would freak them out in kind of a weird way, kind of leave you with like a weird feeling in your stomach a little bit more, just because it's like, you're not really sure I mean, I loved it. Like, don't get me wrong, but it just felt like the ending was so abrupt and it kind of I would have to see it like 2 more times just to like really be like, okay, I feel like this is where he was going. But like, I've never felt like that with any of his movies before.
Yeah. But Princess Mononoke, I feel, has some pretty adult themes. I don't feel like it's like for children necessarily.
Well, that one's a little more violent, but I feel like compared to like the deeper level of thoughts, like more philosophical, you know, that's not so like, hey, we need to learn to cooperate with nature and man, you know, like that one was like pretty like, oh, I totally got it. Don't need. This one was like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah. It's a lot about like not just trying to find a mother that was lost or like a family member that was lost. It was like trying to find like your ancestors that were lost, like the whole like granduncles. I mean, he is like God in this movie.
Yeah, of his own very specific world, which I think was the lesson with like the building blocks, where it's just like, hey,
right,
keep up this very specific tower and design that only one person could ever possibly do. And he's asking something impossible, you know, and it's also crushed by like a fictional character of his own making, you know, where it all comes crashing down because it's like this Parakeet King character. And I felt like that was like a very funny, especially at the ending when he turns into just a regular parakeet and Lance is like, oh, it's the Parakeet King. And he's just a regular parakeet. Anyway, he's got a little crown.
The parakeets are such a perfect blend of like, they're kind of like Goombas.
Yeah.
Like where they're like totally menacing, but also like, they're like these cute little like weirdos.
Yeah. Yeah. That are just like, we're going to eat you. It's like, you're wearing a chef's hat, you big parakeet. Like I don't care if you're sharpening knives and threatening to eat me. You look silly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he was kind of mocking his own work in that way.
Mockingbird.
Mocking with birds.
Well, yeah, I guess for somebody who's super excited for seeing this movie, who's like a big fan, what should they like go in thinking about? And then also somebody who has never seen anything, like, are there certain movies of his you think that people should watch first? I don't know.
Everyone should watch Ponyo. Everyone should feel what Ponyo does to your heart and soul, body and mind. I think that this is one of his trippiest movies, if I could say that. This is one of his...
more trippy than Spirited Away, you think?
I think so, because Spirited Away is like, oh, look at all these crazy, like, you know, you feel like, oh, I'm a girl trapped in Ghost World. This is like... You're not sure if you're in reality or not. Like this is mind bending in a lot of ways, and I feel like that kind of puts you in a weird, just kind of like out there kind of spacey mode. I mean, I think Spirited Away is great, but I feel like I'd like, oh yeah, there's that guy, there's that. It all kind of makes sense. And like this one is like hard to kind of like digest a little bit more. I think there's more meat to it, and it kind of leaves you not feeling like you came away with a specific like love is real or like, you know, some grandiose, like it's just very
Or like I want to buy, like Zach did, a Totoro costume, and
yeah,
I don't know. There aren't a lot of like, oh, this is fun. There's definitely fun aspects of it. I mean, no doubt. But the movie isn't like propelled by that.
No, it's definitely like the real heart. It's like when you see the heron doing something like really kind of creepy, and it kind of just leaves you like, like I don't feel good about this character. You know, it's not like even if a character's meant, it's like, whoa, it's like, oh, he's hurting on the inside. You got to understand the pain of the monster that's trying to eat all the good. It's like, no, that's like, this guy's like gross and menacing, and he's got some weird animations to him. I loved him. Heron's great.
Yeah. It feels less like the Fox and the Hound and more like Frodo and Smeagol. Like,
yeah, it's definitely something. Yeah, that's definitely like some weird, like, oh God, this is tough. This is kind of a tough relationship. And, you know, I would say don't go into it expecting some big high moral thing, or, you know, I just say like, let it happen. And and kind of just accept it for what it is, because to me, this is one of his better films in that it's like more philosophical and asking bigger questions, and I'm not even sure what they are, but I want to know more. I'm like, I want to just rewatch it again just so I can truly get like a formed opinion on it. But I like that I'm kind of in the dark.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely gives you that feeling, which is, you know, sometimes a bad sign, sometimes a good sign, you know, when you see a movie for the first time and you're like, whoa, what was that? You know, it's like, that's a lot to process, where you can't really say like, oh, that was good. Or like, or like, that's not really my favorite or something. Like, you don't want to really say anything. You just want to be like, okay, this was like incredibly detailed. I felt a lot of things, and it was a lot of information made over like a decade about this like master animator's like deepest parts of his subconscious.
Yeah, you can't really be like, well, it didn't make me feel as happy as action sport movie. Like, I'm like, I don't need to.
I wanted really, more of those bubble guys.
Yeah, enough bubble guys. I wanted more Bubbles, less Pelican. The Pelican, gross. I didn't like seeing them bleeding profusely and begging for death. I liked when the Wara were like, "Hey!"
Yeah.
I didn't like seeing them get massacred at scale. Yeah, I think it definitely deserves a rewatch, and I'm putting it up there. I don't know where, but I know that it's good, and I know I don't know enough about it.
It's definitely a thinker, something that sticks with you. Something, if you're a fan, definitely see it again. If you're not a fan, you're probably going to walk away going like, I
don't know what I saw.
Yeah. It was like, it was beautiful, and I am feeling a lot of feelings.
Yeah. I'd say that's pretty fair. I think he's more like paying homage to stories that he grew up with and like else. So I think that it's like a telling of his, now that you've explained that, that's about it. I think it's a retelling of his own life, and kind of like a nod to what he would do with Alice in Wonderland, what he would do in that situation. And but you got to see Princess Mononoke. You got to see Howl's Moving Castle. Got to see My Neighbor Totoro, which My Neighbor Totoro is also kind of like a dark fairy tale thing, because there's some there's some weird stuff going on in Totoro too. But
and it's like a buddy movie too, in a way, right? I mean, it's like a pair. I've never seen it.
It's kind of like I think that, you know, people argue that Totoro is like a spirit guide that's supposed to like carry dead children to the afterlife, kind of thing. So,
but that's totally what you could say about the heron too.
I mean, no, I think he was just a messenger for this dude. You know, he was just, the heron was this messenger for the granduncle to try to get him to like provoke him to go up the tower, and you know why he had to stumble along the way, these different like dream realities to get there, I'm not exactly sure, but there were lessons in there it's kind of funny. It reminded me of a little bit of Tenet, when at the end of Tenet, when or not the end of near the end of the movie, one of the characters says, "Hey, don't remember any of this. It's not important. Like, it's bad if you do." Like, he doesn't say it's not important. He says it's bad if you remember this.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you're supposed to forget about it, and kind of like, well, all right, just let that happen. And how dreams are. It's like you're supposed to forget about it. If they're too crazy, just like, hey, 10 seconds, you'll never remember any of this happened. Just like, okay, thanks, I guess. It's like, maybe there was insane life lessons in here, but I'll just forget about it if that's what you want.
Yeah, I mean, the more I think about it, the more I feel like maybe like the Parakeet King is his creativity, and then like, the granduncle is his like intellect. And it's like these kind of like warring factions within his soul. I don't know.
I feel like the Parrot King was like people trying to imitate his legacy, and him kind of being doomed by his own creations, like his stuff.
But maybe that's like all the like clone soldiers, like parakeet soldiers, like, and like he's like his creative mind. He's the king, and there's all this kind of.
When the Parrot King shows up, when he follows them into granduncle's like chamber or whatever, he goes up to him and he's like, "Hey, you have to take over the planet. I can't watch this anymore. You need to hold up this domain, this fantastical world." Parrot King's like, "Yo, you're gonna give our whole existence in the hands of this guy? He doesn't know our work. He doesn't appreciate this. He's just a child." And he's like, "So I'll do it." And then he stacks up, the things, and he goes, "Nah, damn it." And then he cuts it in half. It's like, I feel like that's like his creation, right? It's Granduncle's creation, the Parrot King amongst others. But like, Parrot King's like, "No, I can hold up this by my own, like, your work will hold up hold this up anyways, so that like, it's like, all we need to do is put this, and it's not the same. So it's like, whatever, smash it." And then that's when the whole world just kind of falls apart, because he's like, "I'm going to try to hand this off. The kid's not going to be able to," because he doesn't do it. He just like goes, the world falls apart, and then he leaves. He's like, "All right, sorry."
And he has a little piece of it.
Yeah, he has like a small piece of it, a fraction of what it was, but it's like, he'll never be able to do all that with that, or maybe he will. I don't know. Maybe that's the lesson. But he's told to forget about all of it. I don't know. Maybe it's
the one little kind of cute charm out of it that I feel like will be a real thing, like a physical thing that people buy like merch, are the little lady dolls.
Oh yeah, totally.
Gotta get those.
Gotta get those little lady dolls.
They're like, they look like little like Russian nesting dolls. And like, he's like, they have they're very powerful. Don't touch them. And then like the one gets in his pocket, and it's kind of like this like good luck charm of like this like kind of little old lady looking after him while he's like on his quest. It's very much a quest of the soul. Like, I feel like this movie, Barbie, it's kind of Oppenheimer, Beau is Afraid. They're all these like very deep, like personal bearing of the soul, like where you're just kind of like, this is me. Fablemans too. Like, I feel like COVID, I mean, obviously this movie has been, in the works for the last decade, but I feel like a theme that's coming out of this year is like all these directors like really went deep and are trying to express like what their life and their work means, and like journeys of the self.
Yeah, no, I totally buy that. I definitely like, I didn't realize I was getting such an insight into me inside, but as soon as you said that, it's like, oh, this is like a retelling of his life using elements of fairy tales that he grew up with and loves, and kind of implementing and putting not just his own spin on it, but like making his own mythos, like making his own, it's like, this is what my interpretation of my own childhood could have been like in this. Yeah. And I think that's totally it.
It's definitely the hero's journey, spiritual quest, and a great film. So if there's anything else you want to say?
I love this movie. I want to say I'm in love with this movie. I just need to see it a few more times before I can really put some kind of ranking in the Miyazaki world. Not that they should be ranked; they're all really good in their own terms. But yeah, I think this is totally worth seeing. If you're a Miyazaki fan, you're going to have to see it, and you probably will end up seeing it.
Don't miss it. But yeah, be prepared to want to see it again.
Yeah, be prepared to want to see it again, and don't go in there with any expectations of learning a lesson. I think that might have been my mistake. Is that
well, not right away, but I mean, even I feel like just in reflecting on it with you here, like I've definitely gotten a lot more like substance out of it, and I feel like just watching it again is going to just continue to enhance that. Can definitely see this being, one of those movies that people carry with them their whole lives and keep returning to. But that's kind of all of his films, magically.
Yeah, truly. Yeah, but I feel like you watch Princess Mononoke to get like some action and like a little love story and a good hearty lesson. I feel like this is not one that you're gonna like want to just watch for fun. You're gonna want to dive into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I was saying about Tenet, it's just that when that scene in Tenet when she tries to explain our favorite scene in Tenet, where she tries to explain what happened. Like, you have to drop it to make it happen to bring it back. Don't try to make sense of it. It doesn't make sense. He's like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, don't think about it. And like at the end, he's like, don't think about this either. Just kind of carry it and let it like kind of simmer in the back of your mind and just like go back into it. Like, maybe that's what the lesson was. Maybe this is. Yeah. And just don't think about
it. Well, I'm gonna have a hard time not thinking about this one. Thanks, Drew. I think it was a really special and epic moment in Film with Family history that we got to see this advanced screening at the 59th annual Chicago International Film Festival. Again, I want to thank Tom Elliott for allowing Drew to see this despite his lack of press credentials, but seeing the importance of getting this content.
I hope it was worth it.
Big regrets already. I already assume. Like, I let this guy see it.
Oh no.
All right. Love you, Drew. Thank you.
Love you too, bro. Later.
All right. That was a conversation between Austin and Drew after they saw Boy and the Heron after the Chicago International Film Festival. But you and Drew are talking about like what could it like mean, or like what like the tower represents and stuff like that. Like I don't know, it definitely feels like it's Miyazaki reckoning with his legacy and also reckoning with his childhood at the same time, which are two interesting kind of things to think about when watching this movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just remembered from your conversation with Drew, or like he was talking about how he feels like a lot of Miyazaki's movies like have like a moral or like some kind of easy takeaway. I kind of want to push up against that because I feel like Princess Mononoke, I think he's right that it does kind of, it's most preachy in its messaging about like being in balance with nature and appreciating nature and stuff. But I feel like most of his other movies, it's kind of harder to parse out like what like the general message is. Like Spirited Away, like I've had a lot of conversations with different people and they all have different interpretations of what it means or what it's trying to say. And I don't know, that's just something I was thinking about while listening to your talk with Drew. And yeah, I do think it is the good thing to go into this movie with, is like don't expect to be like, I totally understand everything after you've seen this movie. Like,
no,
there's a lot to chew on for sure. If you can accept that and not be frustrated by some of the more confusing elements and just enjoy the ride, I think this is the best cinematic experience of the year for me.
Wow. Does it make you want to read the book? How Do You Live?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I've heard the movie is very different from the book.
That's all I have. Um,
I
uh,
will say I was not expecting how many parakeets were in this movie. I'll say I was pleasantly surprised with the parakeets. I thought they were hilarious and
yes.
awesome, and they really doubled down on them. It's like there's going to be parakeets for the rest of the movie. It's not just going to be like a little one parakeet scene. It's like you're going to have to
Yeah.
contend with parakeets till the
Yeah.
end of the movie.
Yeah. There's a
And
king parakeet. There's a whole world of
there's
parakeets.
chef parakeets.
Yeah. They're shitting all over the place. They're a bit
Yeah.
of a nuisance. They're kind of menacing, but also looking really like dumb and like
Yeah.
goofy looking.
Yeah, I loved
Just
it.
kind of look like dopey birds.
Yeah, that's one thing. Even though there are some lot of serious themes in this movie, there are a lot of fun elements like the parakeets, and
Yeah.
also the heron himself is kind of like a comic character. He almost
Yeah.
once he reveals past his heron exterior, and you kind of see the man under the beak, he kind of looks like Danny DeVito. And he just has this kind of goofy comic energy to him.
It's so
And
true.
I enjoyed all that stuff too. This isn't just like a super serious drab affair. This is like
Yeah.
this movie is having fun too.
Yeah.
Um, so I loved all that.
Yeah. We had big laughs in the theater.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, the crowd is pretty receptive, though it didn't get applause at the end. I think that the ending is kind of like, whoa, it's like it is a bit of an
mm,
abrupt ending,
yeah.
and it kind of leaves you like, wow. So, but
Yeah.
when I saw
Yeah.
Shin Godzilla, that got like a big round of applause at the end.
Mm,
Or
yeah.
not Shin Godzilla, Godzilla minus one.
Yeah. There was a guy who I can only assume was Japanese who was sitting like in the front row when we saw it. And when the movie ended, he like stood and like bowed.
Whoa, I
Yeah.
should have done that.
Yeah. Like it was just like, thank you. And yeah, there is one thing that we didn't talk about that's related to the music is just I loved how they had the subtitles for the music and the lyrics at the very end of the movie and
Oh yeah,
and the lyrics kind
like for
of
the credits.
yeah and the lyrics kind of are a good like coda to the whole story, kind of like wraps things up and makes you feel like I don't know, like it's sort of like a summary of what you just saw, or it's like a way to like digest it in a way
Okay,
that was like really nice, I thought.
yeah, I didn't really pay close enough attention to the lyrics of that credit song. But me and my housemate Kenny were like joking that like they use like the Simpsons font for the end credits. Like it looks like has that kind of like squiggly, it just like remind like the Simpsons font, and under like behind the bright blue background.
Yeah, yeah.
That'll be the end of this, our first Patreon exclusive episode.
Yeah. So thank you for being a member. Thank you. And if you think this content is worth other people's money, let them know. Be
Yeah.
like, it's an easy, then we'll just put in whatever the price is here.
Little robot voice.
Yeah. It's just
Wow, that's a great price. And yeah, I think we're gonna try to put out Patreon exclusive episodes every month. I think is the plan. So
yeah.
yeah, keep supporting us, and we'll keep giving you some interesting stuff to listen to.
Yeah, this is going to be our little experimental playground. We might do a limited series.
New movies,
Might do a
old
little
movies.
might do a radio play. No, we're gonna have fun here, and we're gonna make it worth your while. So thank you so much for your support.
Yes, and go out and support Hayao Miyazaki and watch The Boy and the Heron again and again and again.
do it. It's a tensor.
All right. Bye.
Bye.